Good evening, fans of Rando, and welcome to Speed Gaming and our presentation of the ALTTP Randomizer Daily Race. This evening's mode is Open 7-7 Spoiler. This means that it's an Open 7-7 seed like you know and love, but our runners simply past 13.5 to 14 minutes of a spoiler log for this seed. So you're not going to see a whole bunch of random checks occurring. They know where all of the items are. The difficulty here is how well can you execute low percent? How well can you build a route? And how quickly can you get through the seed?
Yeah, these spoiler logs are very interesting. You get 15 minutes to read through where every single item is in the game, and then decide, the quickest way to get them and finish the seed before your opponent, which leads to a lot of shenanigans like not picking up hearts that you would normally find in a regular seed, climbing Ganon's tower with like 4 or 5 hearts sometimes we've seen, and if you're lucky, you might get a half magic or you might get a mail upgrade along the way.
You kinda hope that things like that happen to stumble into your path, but sometimes they don't, and you have to forego them.
Yeah, we got about 21 seconds until the runners are allowed to officially start. So hopefully by now they've figured out, at least most of their opening route, and then can wing enough of it along the way as they work through the seed.
So here they are. It looks like the perfectly normal open start that you might do in any open seed. You start at the house, you're gonna kinda head in the general direction of the uncle, but, well, our runners know exactly what they're gonna get.
Another thing to point out, since they do have the spoiler log, we have pre-marked all the pendants and crystals, as you can see here. So we know what the medallion entries are. We see that Myra and TR are both crystals, and Eastern, Desert, and Skullwoods are our pendants today.
And we've got a bit of a vanilla-ish sword there on the uncle.
Poor guy.
Normally comes with a shield to complete the set, but not today.
Yeah, it looks like the runners are, deciding to go into escape and go check out what's in the back, or the front, rather. I guess this is called the front, even though you're walking towards the back.
Well, I kind of feel like the back leads out into the sanctuary portion, although I guess that's kind of the underground portion rather than the back, so yeah, we'll just make this up as we go along. Kind of like the developers did. Hence how we get things like Paradox Cave.
Yeah, well, we got our first glove. They're continuing on.
Shocking, right? It's almost as though they've been studying a spoiler log where all of the items are for the past 15 minutes.
No, I think they just missed doing escape, playing all these tournament races and stuff.
It kind of built up all of that muscle memory, you think? It's possible.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want to just go through the escape sequence? Hey, a bottle. That's actually super convenient in spoiler mode.
One of those safeties that happens to have wound up along the way perhaps could also lead to a check of the small child in the village.
So in this tournament race, the runners will be on hard item pool. Wait, no, this is not the main tournament. Sorry.
No, and this will probably be sub-hard item pool. You're unlikely to see them reach a second row of hearts in most spoiler seeds, I would think.
So, do you think they find bombs on the drop? Well, never mind.
Surprisingly enough, the princess was not there, so I'm not so sure that they're concerned about that.
Ooh, early divergence. What do you think we're seeing here? Hey, look, a bomb from the 50-50 rock. That's a very nice find.
Always good to get, since like a lot of other nice things you get when you're opening a bunch of random chests that you're not going to be doing in spoiler, bombs are actually kind of an important thing to have show up.
Oh, speaking of bombs. Not a bad bush crab there.
And going to parlay it right into Mini Moldorm Cave. It's kind of right next door. Seems to have worked out pretty well.
Yeah, very nice. Quick kills them all. And Ashter finding his bombs in Blind's hut there.
Also doing a little rupee routing, grabbing that 20 that was right next door to them.
Yeah, and so the other thing too is that because it's a spoiler log, everyone knows where everything is. The runners can actually watch each other and get a sense of, you know, how the other person's routing, if they feel ahead or behind, things like that.
It's a little closer to NMG in that way, where, you know, you're allowed to see where your opponent's at, since, well, you both have access to all of the information already. It's not like you can actually gain something. Aside from maybe a little bit of peace of mind, knowing that your opponent has not already cleared 2 more crystals than you have.
Yeah, and oh, we're getting a lamp off of the hobo here. So looks like Azur's going back to... Actually, I'm not sure where. Didn't he just do this start?
I don't know. Maybe he just wants to sequence break the mountain.
Sequence break the mountain. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
At least when Fry gets to this point, has that nice quality of life upgrade for all of the viewers, they'll actually be able to see what he's doing.
Yeah, as we can see, these sparkles shine in the darkness there for Azure.
Which is enough for a lot of people to get through this room. It's one of the easier dark rooms in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, not a lot of enemies, not too many holes, except for predictable ones. It's pretty comfortable so far. 4 hearts, probably soon to be 5 for both runners and the blue male, so pretty much all they'll need, right?
Well, you know, as long as you're not planning to accidentally hug the pig while you're doing, you know, potentially Master Sword Silverless, depending on where all of the swords and that second bow are tucked away.
Yeah, that's always a fun one, right? Knowing where everything is and realizing the fastest way to complete the game is to do it with Master Sword Silverless.
Well, you know, as opposed to getting into a stand hard seed and thinking, well, I'll find the Tempered Sword somewhere, right? And just not.
Yeah, it never happens. And, there were arrows on the ledge that Azure skipped, so doesn't actually have any arrows to use with that bow.
Not really a whole lot in the way of arrowable enemies here in Tower of Hera, so probably not the end of the world for him, but I guess that is mildly surprising.
We have a question in chat. Azure did not get flippers yet or go and get the lamp, I believe.
You are correct.
So, what is this strategy we're seeing here where they are walking up Tower of Hera instead of using the hookshot? What's happening?
Well, I understand that once upon a time everyone cleared Tower of Hera this way, and then people discovered Herapot, and the Racing Council legalized it, and we've been using it ever since.
So I'm guessing they won't find a hookshot before they're forced to do this dungeon?
Seems reasonably unlikely, although it could also be a matter of item layout, but given that Asder is skipping right by that middle chest, yeah, hookshot probably not immediately on the way here.
Right.
And Fry wants those arrows, so a little difference of opinion here between our runners.
Yeah, also from farming the bush crabs, was able to skip the bombs in the basement of Hera. Or not, I guess not the basement, the first check. So it's like NMG with one more armor upgrade.
And no boots.
And no boots. But different piece of clothing.
Drop, though.
Yeah.
In fact, having been doing a little NMG boss practice lately, I'm very sure that's not the vanilla drop. But, you know, cape kind of nicer than a heart container in a lot of situations.
So Azure saving and quitting now, heading out from his house. By the way, very nice Moldorm fight. Quick 6 hits with the fighter sword and takes him down.
None of my fights in practice look that nice, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no troll dorms today on Azure's side.
Looks like Fry's getting a little more bullied by the worm, but we'll see what the ultimate outcome is.
Who's keeping score?
Probably Moldorm.
Do you think he has notches on the wall for all his victims that he knocks off into the center hole?
Well, that's probably why the center hole gets a little wider every time, isn't it?
It feels that way. Ooh, you got one there. That's rough.
While Fry's coming up for the refight, Asder has gone ahead and gotten those flippers out of the smaller Moldorm cave. Ooh, I like that idea from Pixie. Maybe Moldorm actually steals all of the adventurers' caps and keeps them somewhere. You know, maybe it's in the top left-hand corner of this room that nobody ever sees.
Yeah, what's
maybe
up there?
Maybe there's just a pile of adventurer hats over there. Never go, and no one goes there because there's too much lag. It's too many sprites on the screen at once. So, what say you? Do we actually get a little convergence here?
Looks like no. It looks like Salty Fry, if I were to guess, is heading up to fight the wizard.
That seems like a reasonable guess with that pre-equip of the cape. But Master's choosing Eastern instead.
Okay, Pendant Eastern.
Because the randomizer has never ever put any required progression in a Pendant dungeon. That just doesn't happen.
Oh no, yeah, definitely not. Making nice use of the arrows he found on top of Spectacle Rock there.
It's a whole lot nicer to defeat those ball and chain guards with the arrows than it is with the plastic sword, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. We take what? 6 hits? 8 hits? I don't even know. A lot.
I think Asder really wanted a hook shot right there, but does not have one in inventory just yet.
Ooh, that's yeah. That's super annoying. Would be nice though, right? Oh. Look, it's a moon pearl.
Well, that's an adorable play, isn't it? Kind of an interesting diversity of choices there between our runners. Asder wanting that moon pearl before going to fight the wizard, and Fry, I guess, is going to just bunny walk in the dark and mirror and pick that up. We already know that Pod's a crystal, after all.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think there ends up being kind of a weird thing where the bunny cannot have a follower sprite, I believe. So he won't be able to take Kiki up to help him open Pod before getting that Moon Pearl. So we'll see how this kind of turns out in the end, because it feels like this is a very specific point of convergence on this seed.
And I think Astor had maybe a couple of seconds advantage thanks to that one Moldorm fall that Fry took. So, you know, we'll kind of see them come back together here in the near future, hopefully. Unless, of course, their ideas on how they want to play the seed have become wildly different once they hit the Dark World.
So how many blue balls do you think we'll get? I don't think that's in the spoiler log.
I don't think that is in the spoiler log. Let's say, given that we had to do Fighter Sword Cape Aga Tower Climb, 6?
Alright, yeah, I'll go with 6. Or I'll take 6.
This really feels like, without the spoiler log, the kind of seed where you would really wind up last locating this fairly hard.
Yeah. Spoilers fancy like that. I missed it. Was that 2 so far, or 1?
I was watching Astor's arrowless fight with some of these red guards, and I missed it. I think we were at 2, but somebody's gonna catch me.
Yeah, I was actually doing the same. Doing a good job getting through the tower here.
You say right as that ball and chain guard decides to whack him for half a heart.
Yeah. Oops. Well, it was more than 1. Anyway, moving on. Bunny time.
I particularly enjoy the bunny sprite form of the wireframe Link. It's just a really well done sprite, and, well, there are a lot of really well done sprites, but that particular bunny form of that sprite I really like.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So where do you mirror here to get the most advantage from grabbing the Moon Pearl and then coming back to grab the monkey?
That's a really good question, and I don't know that I have an answer for you because I have not tried this trick before. Not entirely certain where all of the safe mirroring locations are.
Yeah, I feel like we're about to find out. I guess at the entrance. That's pretty guaranteed, right?
It's one spot up here that you know that everything's going to line up, so, you know, as good as anything else.
And Azure takes down Aghanim.
Takes no damage on the fight itself, which is always nice. Of course, if you stand directly left or right of the wizard, you can stand about a tile or so away, and all of those blue balls would just magically part around you.
Yeah, so here's that convergence we were talking about. If we see them entering Pod around the same time, then we'll know, you know, how close this will end up being, based on the two different routes they took, as well as the Troll Dorm being Troll Dorm.
Yep, Salty Fry does have this little bit of backtracking to do, but I think Astor may have a little more maze left to go than Salty does.
Yeah, so I kind of timed it out. It looks about right around 20 seconds, a little less.
Still reasonably close in the grand scheme of things. Now we will note that this is a dive into Crystal Pod with no hammer.
That's true. They do have a lamp, though, which is nice.
Have a lamp, have a mirror, have the bow, so everything but the boss is fully logical.
Pod's a nice dungeon, too, as an early dungeon in this mode, because it's a good bomb and arrow farm. Assuming that you have to go to the arrow side.
There are a lot of opportunities in here to kind of replenish those resources. It does cost that 110 rupees to get in, but if it's arrows and bombs that you actually need, it's not too bad.
Looks like going for the big key chest here.
And Aster is not.
Hey, a sword. That would have been nice.
Get a sword so that you don't have to get the cape? Yeah, that could have been a thing, but no.
That was a nice hook shot in the back, too, so far.
That thing that Aster was really hoping that he had when he was going into Eastern is actually tucked away in its Dark World compatriot, the Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, you know, I did just kind of remember, they did find a red goo earlier, so they still do have a health safety that they could use at any point if they need to. Interesting thinking about, you know, a dungeon like Pod, which has a bajillion keys. You still have to kind of route the dungeon efficiently to get the things you need in the dungeon. Whether it be items or that big key that Azure just pulled out of the Dark Maze.
Having an understanding of the pod key logic is good even for normal seeds. For something like Spoiler, I have to imagine that it's even more important.
Yeah, and it looks like the way they're both routing it, they will have one extra key, and I have not seen a hammer. I'm guessing we might not see one in here, but, you know, if they do need to leave and come back, they will have an extra key to go straight to the boss, so you know, you wouldn't leave here without getting all the items that you could possibly want, so. Look at that, they both ended in Pod at the exact same time.
The question is, did Aster really want to be back on the pyramid or not? Because Fry chose to step outside and mirror first.
Yeah, good point. More divergence. Isn't it great?
So this looks like either the catfish play and or the hook across the river and into the West Dark World, and it's going to be the latter, while Fry wants something on East Mountain. I'll note that for all that Fry was behind going into Pod, they essentially mirrored out and started this next leg of their journeys at functionally the same time. It looks like Aster's play in Palace of Darkness may have been a little more efficient.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. Hey, what is that?
It's the magic bag full of swag.
It's like gonna do the chess game here. And getting a single rupee and a heart. Oh, cool, nice safety.
It's kind of right on top of a location that you're at anyway.
Yeah, as they're deciding to go into Thieves Town, looks like.
Hookshot before Thieves kind of feels good, you know. Boots would be nicer, but Hookshot lets you get around a little easier on some of the long straightaways here. There are some hookable pots, and you can hook onto the chests as well.
Yeah, now Azure having nice overworld, dark world access with those mitts and Pod, and the Ether Tablet, which looks like we will need for Turtle Rock, so Thieves Town being pretty loaded in the front.
Carrying the entire Ether Tablet with him, huh? That's a feat of strength.
Couldn't have done it without those mitts. Yeah, meanwhile, Fry did pull a sword out of Spiral Cave. So, Powder and Tempered Sword in tow. Looks like we'll be heading towards the other side of Dark World.
Tempered Sword is kind of an unofficial safety in the grand scheme of things by making enemies go away more quickly or less likely to lose hit points.
You mean offense is the best defense?
Yeah, something Mel, the cook on Alice? But we do have Astor continuing this play and getting really bodied by these Gibos and that fire snake here in the Hellway.
Yeah, they don't call it the Hellway for nothing, right?
Could have chosen to throw on the cape, but instead, 2.5 hearts remaining with that blue mail seems to feel okay.
Goodbye to whatever's in the attic.
It's probably just bombs. It's bombs and vanilla, and there are plenty of bombs in the game.
Yeah, a lot of bombs in Thieves Town.
The developers really wanted to make sure that you noticed that there was something bombable in that room because the chest has bombs, the 2 skull pots have bombs under them. They really did not want to let you get away without at least trying to bomb that floor.
Yeah, they should just have left a, I don't know, what are those, like a bomb slug or a Hinox or something in there? Just have bombs being thrown all over the room. Like, hey, you should throw bombs around the room too, eh? Eh?
And Salty Fry has used the magic powder, has used the mirror and thrown away his mirror portal with no hammer yet to get a shovel off of the magic bat.
Huh. I was kind of watching Azure for a bit. Did he get the mitts first? I'm guessing he would have, right?
Yeah, the mitts were in the first chest.
Okay. Hey, Blind. Are you doing a blind run of this game? Actually, not today. Sorry, buddy.
No, I think there are many levels here on which Blind is going to be disappointed. Or perhaps pointed 9 times.
Appointed?
Speaking of pointed things, that's Astor collecting crystal number 2 here at 26 minutes.
Yeah, and it looks like the powder led to the shovel, which led to the boots. So, gotta go fast.
Which led to some more red in the Cane of Samaria.
All the red things?
Very
I guess
much
it all
so.
started with a flipper, right?
Well, those are also kind of boots, so I guess they can be honorary red even though they're blue. Now, if our fire rod is Cane of Samaria locked, then we may really have something with this chain of red.
Ooh, that would be fun to see.
In fairness, chat, you'll be allowed to burn me as a warlock if that one comes through. The only things that I really looked for in the spoiler log were the single rupees, the arrow of destiny, and the bug-catching net. Things that we know our runners are highly unlikely to bother picking up this seed.
That's unfortunate. But you never know, they might be on the path.
How are you going to defeat Aghanim 2 without a bug-catching net? Well, there are some goodies for Asder and Hype Cave, including that hammer.
Yeah, very nice. I mean, when has there ever been an Agaseed with a hammer in Hype Cave?
Well, you know, it could be worse. It could have been in Pyramid Fairy.
Yep. I mean, I guess if you've already done Aga, it's not so bad, but...
Probably a little less bad in Spoiler, at least then you know you have to do it. Looks like the Hellway's not really choosing to cooperate with Salty Fry either, even with the boots already in hand, taking a couple of hearts of damage there.
Yeah, it's always frustrating. And as you're deciding to do the Dark World, Dark and Light World versions of East Death Mountain,
It's an interesting choice, certainly. This is a choice that Salty Fry could have made and opted against.
looks like getting the powder out of the, I don't know, one of the Paradox Cave areas. I call that the middle. Is that? It's gotta be right.
Yeah, middle's as good a name for it as any. And that was a really clean hook clip. I would love to be able to do that trick at least half that well.
Yeah, that one's kind of trolly, actually, because the timing of it's kind of weird, and yeah, it makes it look easy, of course. Well, there's our fire rod.
Another one of those things that you were going to have to find to beat the seed eventually.
Yep, all the red things. Looks like he skipped the second sword that we saw in Spiral Cave that Salty Fry opted to pick up.
That's an interesting choice. I would have thought that that would have been the time to route something like that in, with bosses coming still in the final 3 dungeons of the vanilla game. Having that additional sword level would be pretty nice.
Seems like this is going to work out pretty well, though. Able to activate the flute, which you got out of Hype Cave, then, walk it over to the bat to get his shovel, where he can dig up his crusty boots.
It will be interesting to see if he has some kind of play in mind where he wants to go back up there with the boots to get that sword. I feel like it's kind of a long roundabout trek for one sword, though. Not
Yeah.
sure you gain more time doing it that way than you would just doing it with long, slow walk.
Yeah, I guess it'll also depend if there is another sword along the path that he might be saying, you know what, that one takes too long. There's another one I can find, or because pretty much you don't ever want to end on Master Sword unless there's like an absolutely out of the way 2 swords.
Something crazy like a mushroom and the book in GT and Bombo's tablet and the mushroom turn and have your other 2 swords. Something just ridiculously gross.
Yeah, fun stuff, really.
I haven't actually run a seed with the spoiler log, but I would have to think there have to be some of those kind of laugh out loud moments of, this is what the seed really thought that I was going to do, honestly?
Yeah, totally.
So we have Asder committed to this Boots to Samaria play, and Salty Fry going to go ahead and head into Swamp Palace.
I'm deciding to leave with that cane, so it has something else in mind that does not require fluting.
This could be one of those blink and you miss it kind of Swamp Palace clears on Fry's side, depending on what's actually in here.
Ooh, we're getting a bonk rocks check.
One of the handful of light ward locations that it's not really convenient to flute to.
I'm pulling silver arrows out of there, so at least we got both bows so far, and we know where 3 swords are. I mean, they technically know where 4 swords are. It almost feels like the runners got together beforehand and said, okay, let's try and make completely different routes to make this an interesting viewing experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. It is a friendly, after all, and, you know, with all of the information in hand, it really comes down to how well do you execute your route.
Oh, hi. What was that?
Yeah, what was that? One of those things tucked away that, you know, just happened to be along the path.
I mean, that could be pretty convenient. They do have the red goo currently, which means they also have a bottle, and if it ends up coming down to a situation where they have to use the potion itself, they can pick up fairies along the way with the forced powder they also had to get.
100% required powder, so, you know, if you need to powder an anti-fairy here in the future, you're not out of luck.
Nice little arrow shot there to start off the fight. So yeah, it looks like Azure went back to pod to finish that up, since, you know, that area will be complete, probably. I'm assuming he never stopped by Saha's hut or anything, then he's not going to be coming back there ever again.
Seems reasonably unlikely, and Salty Fry has found what he was looking for there in Swamp Palace. Of course, the bug-catching net would have been a nice consolation prize if all you were getting was the crystal, but the ice rod happens to be on Argus today.
Wow, what a convenient seed!
Go to the crystal dungeons you can full clear and get your progression, except of course not when your Moon Pearl was in Pendant Eastern.
Yeah, spoilers really fun to watch though, actually. Especially from top runners like these.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I find interesting, but my execution wouldn't stand up to actually playing it on any kind of competitive level.
Yeah,
The
totally.
idea of making a route really appeals to me. My ability to execute on said route would be sadly lacking. But you know, that's why we have people like Salty Fry and Esther who agree to be restreamed and show off their much more substantial skills.
Yeah, this routing actually worked out really well, going down south to get the hammer out of Hype Cave after having the boots and everything else in order to actually be able to beat Swamp. Was able to do that, and then on the save and quit after completing the dungeon, able to grab silvers along the way to activating his flute. So that actually worked out really well.
That does look like a really nice piece of routing on Fry's part.
So, good question from chat. They're still looking for Bombos because they need it to get into Mire. Curious to see where it ends up being. Huh. Hey, look, Convergence.
Shocking, who would have guessed? seems likely to be that remaining thing they're still looking for. Yeah.
Ah, there it is. Are they, Hey, wait, are we in no mode as chat and comms?
I'm pretty sure the runners have been in no mode since this started 38 minutes ago, at least as long as they made it all the way through their spoiler log in that time. But, yeah. We as chat and comm should also be in no mode at this point. We've seen every required item.
Including the swagnet. they have the 2 pieces of Meyer 2 quick kill room. Salty Fry with the sword beams and Azure with the fire rod. And I know you could do it with like a bow or an ice rod or something too. So let's see if they improvise here a bit. Well, commentator cursed, I guess?
Yeah, maybe. Sometimes you get the pit, and sometimes the pit gets you.
It's just slightly lower health than your normal NMG route through Meyer.
Ever so slightly.
As long as you don't have to pick up the spike chest, it's probably not an issue, right?
Well, if you do that cleanly, you only take 3 hearts of damage. Not that it seems to matter when what you have is a Godmire, and Astor at least is heading straight for the boss.
Yeah, Meyer must be empty here. One of my favorite pieces of logic is the Meyer spike chest. As you said, pretty much have to take 3 hearts of damage to get the item, but you know, in any mode where that chest is available early, it is in logic with just 3 hearts because you can still open the chest with 3 hearts.
That seems fairly cruel and unusual, but I believe you.
Very nice dash spooky from Azure.
I was aware that that was a thing. I have no idea how it works, and that looked really good.
Well, I actually do know enough how it works to explain it real quick, but when he tosses the Samaria block into the pit there, it sets the spooky value, which is normally set by the bird leaving the screen when you flute into the Meyer area. It sets it to the maximum possible value. So that's why you have to shoot the fire rod shot at the bottom of the screen, but in order for the splash damage to still be active on the fire rod shot, you also have to dash upwards for it to still be active in when the crystal switches spawned as you move northward in that room.
The thing
As far as I understand it.
Playing this game, and I'll use the term playing loosely, it's more like they're picking it apart and finding every possible strange occurrence that they can generate sometimes.
Yeah, totally. I also did hear from someone that was the original way when the concept of spooky was first understood, that it was set up before they learned the 3-part method that's more common today. But yeah, Professor Pixie, our tracker, pointing out that grabbing silvers before that fight was actually pretty crucial, so it wasn't just a convenience to make the endgame easier against Ganon.
Don't really want to have to do that on 5 hearts, even Tempered Sword with the cape. I guess you could get through, but silvers is a whole lot safer.
Yeah, you want to turn that into a blink and you miss it kind of fight.
So we do have 4 crystals aside for our runners, but they're not all the same crystals by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Fry's gonna go finish up Pod, Azure stepping into Ice Palace, and then, I would guess Azure has to take care of Swamp, Fry has to finish Ice Palace, and they'll reconverge at Turtle Rock and high five on the way in.
And Fry still, of course, going to need to pick up that Fire Rod, Azure going to get the Ice Rod, which is tucked away on Argus.
Yeah, chat pointing out that Fry still has the same 5 hearts he's had the entire seed, and that's definitely something that happens in spoiler mode, because, it is a race, you're trying to do things faster than your opponent, and if you're comfortable at low health situations like this, then it is faster than picking up hearts that you find, unless there's one literally right next to you.
Even in the situation where you're actually touching the treasure chest in question, it's still a good second or so to pick something up.
Yeah, definitely.
And surprise, surprise, when runners of this caliber know where all of the items are, a second can be the difference.
Ooh, nice sword doubling there from Azure. Very, very well done. Very quick.
Managing to preserve that half a bar of Fire Rod shots to progress the rest of the fight a little more quickly.
Very, very quickly. Very nicely done. We're seeing all the tech tonight. Fry waiting just half a second for the fireballs to try and spawn before getting the last helmet hit to make the fireballs despawn.
It's a good trick. There's not really a whole lot of trick to it per se. It's just a matter of a little patience. You too can despawn those fireballs by making the mask disintegrate at the proper time.
And again with the, same time dungeon clears. It's funny, normally in a situation like this, it would be like, so, my Indian, where do you think our runners are going to go next?
And in this case, the answer is, well, they're going to go where the progression is, of course. Because that's what good runners do, isn't it?
Just pick up all the items that are needed for progression and ignore the rest. Exactly.
Now this will be an interesting, if small, difference in Fry's clear of ice as opposed to Aster's, because Fry has the Bombos medallion and no Fire Rod, so going to have to use that to crack the shell, and will not have the Fire Rod to do the additional damage in Phase 2, but has the Tempered Sword, so it's probably all going to come out in the wash, I would think.
Interesting he grabbed the big key there. Did I miss something that was in the big chest that we needed? No, we have everything we need.
Yeah, I'm reasonably certain we're just in no mode here. Was there maybe a choice not to go back and flip the switch, in which case he would need that to actually progress through the big key door?
Yeah, it seems that's what he's doing. He grabbed a small key along the path too, so... Oh, that's just to get through this door, though. Unless there's another small key here? And there is! Wow, okay. That's interesting routing, so then he can just skip going back for the 4 extra transitions that you need to do in order to hit the switch, and go straight to the boss. That's pretty cool. He knew where both small key chests were, and they were both literally on the path. The 2 checks that you would check even in go mode normally.
And even with all of that good routing on Fry's part, he still walks up to those pegs for just a second thinking, I wish I could just push this block. looks like that was a bit of intentional damage so that he could powder that anti-fairy and capture the fairy in the bottle.
It's actually smart as a safety for, you know, any of the tougher fights. Ooh, this little ice guy is going to be annoying as heck. Almost want to just bombos him at this point. Just get him out of the screen. Ah, super annoying. Yeah, he made the Freezor spawn.
That was unfortunate, and then of course Bombos just turns everything to fire.
But anyway, yeah, so instead of having the red potion, you don't need to activate it. In case he does get hit accidentally by one of the Cold Stare Puffs and kills him, he will respawn automatically, so makes the fight even safer. It's been a nice setup with the Bombos there to make the timing easier.
Yep, all you do is you walk up to the bottom left-hand corner of the Cold Stare Ice Shell, set your Bombos off, then just hold up the whole time. As soon as the Bombos animation finishes, pull your sword out when you're halfway from that point to the wall, walk up and then over. You'll time the ice out perfectly. You can drop right down like Salty Fry did, release your spin, and you'll start in on the puffs.
Very
There
cool.
we are, basically simultaneous crystal catches again.
It's interesting that the way they're routing is causing the difference between crystal pickups to line up almost perfectly, and I think the only dungeon they did at the same time was Hera, and even then they did it at different times.
So here we are, both of our runners on the mountain. Asder, of course, got the ice rod there off of Argus. Salty Fry still needing to pick up the fire rod.
Yeah, it looks like gonna open up TR and then backtrack through Super Bunny to pick that up.
That seems as reasonable as anything.
I was about to say it before they were in the clear, but let me just give it a second here. Okay, both runners getting good Deadrock RNG.
That can occasionally be a problem.
That's got to be what, like 10 seconds of loss if you push them in your way.
Oh, it feels like an eternity. It may only be 10 seconds.
It's probably only like 3, but it feels like 20. So I wasn't paying enough attention to notice, but, you know, Azure still does have 2 more hearts than Fry. And has this whole seed, so I have no idea where he got them anymore.
He does. He's also still at that 1 sword level disadvantage. That may well prove to be of some difference here in Turtle Rock, where probably going to have to go to something like Fire Rod strats on Pokies rather than just being able to do sword spins.
Yeah, Azure going to have to resort to hammer strats here.
And we had a small key right side.
Always nice to see in Turtle Rock, even though they do know where everything is.
It's nice when the dungeon actually lays itself out such that you do get to go mode it.
Yeah, they really did, right? 2 small keys and a big key. What's next? Another small key and chain chomps?
Another small key would be the ideal here. And as expected, Astor with that fire rod out.
We're about to find out. Ooh, not a small key.
No, definitely not. And we already have silver, so he's not going to pull a me special and on the restream decide, oh, I need some potions right before Ganon. Let me turn in this mushroom that I have. It was one of the more hilarious, memorable things that I've done recently, and of course it wasn't spoiler, so it came as a shock to everyone. Of course, in spoiler, it probably is not actually a time save. But no, here we go, where you're going to steal the Poke Key like you do when you're in Go mode and you've already gotten the big key.
And if you get to skip the big chest.
It's just about as fast as Turtle Rock gets. It seems that Chad is expecting that we're going to have cooking lessons from Astor afterwards. Going to use this mushroom maybe with some pork steaks.
I would say we could ask him about it afterwards, but I mean, we could technically just ask him about it right now. Although I'd rather have him focus on the rest of this run.
Some people who are both incredible players and incredible typists just get into chat periodically when they're on a run like this and are allowed to do so.
Now he can find his way through the dungeon.
I wonder, there is a nominal progression item tucked away here, but I think he's going to skip it. We'll see if Fry decides to skip it as well before we go ahead and spoil it for chat.
Oh, yeah. Still has a chance.
Well, I'm not sure how they're going to defeat Ganon now, Homemade Beer. They've left behind the Arrow of Destiny on the top right chest of Laser Bridge.
Yeah, the classic single arrow, which is a unique item. If only hints were on. You're getting a little bullied by Mr. Trinex here.
Yeah, Trinex has a tendency to do that, especially when you're on normal magic. I would swear for you in a court of law that those heads move around more when they know you're on normal magic.
Yeah, it feels that way.
And this seems to be that Tempered Sword advantage playing out in Salty Fry's favor here.
And Azure takes him down, gets both heads, and, one spin and 4 hammer hits to finish him off.
Very cleanly done.
Time for the fireworks. And we have our 7 crystals at 57 minutes.
Now, chat, you're fully welcome to guess if you want to, but spoiler alert, our runners know where the big key is. So if you guess anything above about 2 or 3, depending on the layout of small keys, you're unlikely to be right.
I would give a guess, but I'd also know where it is, so I'll just watch chat. I like 4.5. That's my favorite one so far. Probably not more than 4. Maybe they find a heart in here that's easy to grab on the way.
Yeah, it could be. I have heard a lot of runners who run spoiler say, you think that 15 minutes is going to be a long time, but it really goes by in a blink, and sometimes you're kind of flipping through the spoiler log looking for your big key in the middle of the run because you were trying to route everything else you needed to get to this point, and we're still kind of working on it.
Well, looks like it was 2 today on Salty Fry's side. How about Azure? It looks like a 1 to me.
A 1, and there's one of those hearts along the way that Salty Fry has decided against.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people like play this and think like, why wouldn't they be picking up hearts? Or they watch these runs, why wouldn't they be picking up hearts? You know, it's just right there, it's on the way. But you know, there's something to be said about, like you were saying, if it takes like 5 seconds, you could lose the race by 5 seconds. Or if you pick up 3 or 4 hearts, 5 seconds apiece, you know, it gets up to 20 seconds at some point.
Yeah, we know that Aster has picked up 3 more full heart containers than Salty Fry has. That's probably only maybe 4 seconds-ish in the grand scheme of things, but they're within a couple of rooms of each other. And I will say it's always fun to watch really good runners go through these gauntlet rooms.
Oh yeah, I love it. Just watching him clean up.
Even after playing for a year and more, I always feel like I'm kind of flailing around in here when the RNG's not in my favor, and someone like Salty Fry just says, nope, you know what, I got this.
It's almost like he's done this before. Yeah, Silver Strats, haven't seen that in a while.
That may be why he missed that third one. He was just a little over anxious getting that final arrow off.
You can also see the Tempered Sword advantage here, as these red Zazaks do not die to one shot of a Master Sword hit.
And that's one of the reasons that I always prefer to have at least Tempered for this climb. That Master Sword, particularly in the gauntlet there, doesn't always get the job done as well as you might want.
Azure making up a bit of time there with the quick kill on Landmos. Nice 3 hits with the silver, take him down.
Yeah, gaining back a couple of seconds with the ability to just one cycle to fight.
So another thing that I'm always curious to see at the end of these races is the collection rate. You know, most of the times we're used to seeing these runners play through a seed like this and end up, you know, around, I don't know, anywhere from 130 to 170, depending on how much crap you had to do in the seed. But oh, what was that?
Yeah, I don't think you get that in hard standard beer. You might not have seen that one in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't even remember. So I guess Salty Fry will maintain his sword advantage for the basically entirety of the race here.
That does appear to be the case. He's on through Moldorm 2 already.
Yeah, but as I was briefly saying that, you know, what do you think the collection rate's going to end up being here?
Now, for something like this, I'm not even sure I could tell you. 40, maybe? I mean, you do have to catch the 7 boss prizes, so not all of those bosses actually had item prizes we needed, so...
Yeah, that's true.
It's gonna be low, though. I'll tell you that much for sure.
Maybe 42 because of the 2 Castle Tower keys?
Yeah, the key routing and things like Palace of Darkness and Turtle Rock probably do bump that count up a little. And Salty Fry's count may be slightly higher, or maybe evens up those carts that Aster picked up with the keys that he picked up to not have to make those additional screen transitions in Ice Palace?
Ooh, looks like Azure actually did miss one shot there. Salty Fry got a 2-cycle Agatu, and Azure had to take it on a 3-cycle.
Those aren't the spoiler logs, so it is catch as catch can for the runners there.
Ooh, by 1 heart. He's fine, right?
Well, he bottled that fairy earlier, so he ought to be.
Yeah, good call.
And this is why you prepare your safeties in advance.
Yeah, he did pick up that bug net, whereas Azure did not, so that was saving him, potentially the race, depending on how the rest of his fight goes. We'll see. Looks like Azure doing a good job here. Misses the 1-1. Wow, spin gets a hit right between the bat circle. That was very convenient.
Sometimes lucky or very, very good, and it can be difficult to tell, but that's 4 silver sticks into the pig on Salty Fry's side. He'll stand there with that sword raised in the air in the victory pose for a hot minute here while the fanfare plays.
The scariest moment of a non-spoiler race. And get your GGs in chat for Salty Fry, winner of the race. With an official time of 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 46 seconds. Wait, no. I looked at the wrong race. Oh, I'm not subtracting the spoiler time. 1 hour and 4 minutes and 46 seconds.
Yep, that does include the spoiler time, the time you read off first, and that's 4 sticks into the pig for Asder as well, going to be crossing the bridge here not even a full minute later. And there we are, a solid showing by both of our runners.
And we are joined in the booth by Salty Fry. GG's, Salty Fry. Congrats on the win.
Thanks a lot.
And we're joined in the booth as well by Asger. Good game to you.
GG. That was a good race.
Yeah, definitely. GG.
Yeah, that was great to watch. Great to call. Since, it's hard to talk about the seed too much, what were some of your favorite item placements? I'm just curious.
Realized pretty early on that it was going to be an Agus seed, obviously. So, I mean, the hammer being locked behind the hook shot in Pod is always kind of one of those things that's just like, wow, there's your nice force double dip, right? And again, of course, the boots being where they are is behind a bunch of fetch quests. It's always lots of fun, too.
Boots were... I was a crazy chain to boots. I was really trying to figure out the best way to get them, and there wasn't really a good way. It just had to wait until you had all the things.
I basically went for them almost as soon as possible. Like right after I did Pod, I went up there because I figured I didn't really need the fire rod. The one real question I always had on my mind was whether or not it was worthwhile to go get the sword in Spiral Cave. I did end up getting that. It was kind of one of those things where I probably could have gone without it, but at the same time, it's nice to have tempered for Argus. It's nice to have tempered for Trinex. It's nice to have tempered for Cold Stairs. So.
Yeah, I was thinking about if I should get it or not. I decided to skip it since there is the sword in GT. And it ended up biting me on Trinex. I bonked the spike right at the start of the fight, and that ruined the entire fight. It was so bad. I think if that hadn't have happened, I would have saved time skipping it. I also missed Ganon 1-on-1, so that also sucked. But I think if I had played properly, then it would have been better to skip it.
To be fair, you missed the first cycle 1-on-1, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, it was just a 2-on-1. He ended up going into a pretty good position for phase 2. And also, bunny walking to pod is really smart for you to do. I didn't think of it in time.
Yeah, I figured why not, right? Like, I mean, the moon pearl's over there, and I mean, there was no other reason really to go over that way, right? It worked out really good. I just remembered that from one race back in the ladder for when there were spoiler races going on, and I completely didn't even think about that. My opponent did, and it didn't make a big deal. It makes a little difference, I guess, but I mean, you have to backtrack a little words after Eastern because you don't get to pick up the monkey, but it is what it is. Works out nicely.
I was big here just because you had to go to pod after Aga. You had no choice. You had to get that hook shot.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just like I normally just think of Moon Pearl as like more or less a requirement for doing Aga. I don't want to do it without it unless I'm like specifically deciding to get the Pyramid Ledge item. So I didn't think about any other use cases of that where Pearl being an Eastern, that's like the exact thing that you would want to do this for. Pearl and Eastern, and then needing to be at pod anyways.
Yeah, there's just a few little situations like that come up. Other than that, there's not really much. Really, yeah, you're right. Like otherwise, yeah, I usually want that Moon Pearl right away.
I haven't done a spoiler in a while, so there were a couple things I didn't think of or kind of messed up. But...
It's been a little while for me too, just since basically the season ended the last time for the ladder, I guess. There hasn't really been many going on, I don't think. So it's been a little while for me, but it's also been a while since I'd actually played. I've been away on vacation, so I was a little shocked I actually played as decently as I did, other than Moldorm 1 and I don't know what the hell happened in the bottom of Ice Palace there, but I guess I just bombosed my way out.
The freezer trolled you a bit.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Like, I just walked in the room and he's already active. I'm like, that doesn't normally happen.
So speaking of it being a little while since you two have played Spoiler, since there was kind of some curiosity about it in the chat, what all goes on in that 15-minute study period when you get the spoiler log before you actually sit down to race these things?
Well, since I've done quite a few of these, I got my own little method where I kind of start with the spoiler log and I kind of parse my way through it. And I basically delete everything that I feel is unnecessary. So all the maps, all the compasses, most of the arrows, most of the bombs, most of the small rupees. So basically it's all narrowed down to just all the essential things. And then I cut and paste from one window to another. And you can actually, if you go watch my stream, you'll be able to actually see me build up my route in Notepad, more or less what I plan on doing. It's not exactly what I end up doing once I start playing. I'll be looking at things and trying to think what I can do better based on that. So I do make a few adjustments here and there, but that's basically what I do. And I find I have a fair amount of time. It takes me about 12 minutes to kind of generally get most seeds down that way, unless it's something really insane and crazy. This one here was a little rougher. Most of them are closer to an hour, not quite so close to an hour 5, but that's more or less what I do.
I don't use like spreadsheets or templates like other people seem to. I also just like write a notepad. I'm pretty haphazard with how I do it. I like to start with like finding out what my Dark World access is, and then going from there, and then locating movement items, and then locating items you don't want to go to dungeons without, like bow, fire rod, ice rod, and then kind of everything else after that. So there's my notes if you want to see an example of like how messy it is.
Cool. There was one other question that came up when we as comms and Drossi with us as well when we were setting up the race. We were just cruising through the spoiler log and we noticed the big key in Hope Room and a small key on the torch, and he had mentioned that I think he said it was Kern at one point during one of these went left first, grabbed the pot key, grabbed the key off the torch, and then used one of the keys to go through the middle door to grab the big key to then mirror it out to get out.
Oh, that's super smart.
Just thought that was kind of a cute little trick.
I barely looked at where anything in GT was because I just saw a big key was in Hope Room right away. So I didn't read anything else. So I didn't know there was a key on torch. I was gonna go get the pot one.
Oh, okay. And you just saw it there. It was convenient.
Yeah, a lot of people like like take the spoiler log and like delete lines from it. But I don't do that. I just like I type everything out that I plan on. So if I don't end up typing it, then I basically essentially don't know about it.
You delete stuff, but every once in a while I'll accidentally delete something that I didn't mean to, which can lead to a little issue. But eventually I realize like I'm looking for that and I can't find it anywhere, so I just go and download a second copy of a log and find it in that, right? So I usually have enough time. Like at this point in time, I've done it enough times. I'm not really rushed in the 15 minutes. Like when you start doing it, the 15 minutes is very, very fast. Like it goes by very, very quickly. Once you've done quite a few of them, it starts to become a little more, okay, you know what you got to do in this time. You know how much time you got to do it. So it's a little less stressful, and you figure most of the time, like I'm always like I'm looking up towards the end. All right, I got 2 minutes, which is still plenty of time to finish up my last few little things, and it's just kind of how it goes at this point.
My brain kind of stalls on the back half of the route. Like once we have most of the major items, I struggle to think of like what's best to do when. But I think I usually run out of time for that. But then like the once you start playing, like the go mode route kind of mostly writes itself. Once you're playing the seed, you have actual context for what things you have. It's not too bad.
Yeah, there's always decisions that don't make a difference, right? Like what order you do, like mire, ice, finish pod, right? And like which order you do those makes absolutely zero difference in the end, really.
Yeah, I guess the only potential reason to prioritize one over the other is if there's some kind of safety or something that you want to get from one dungeon to the next.
I wanted to route in the heart and the freezer chest at Ice Palace, but because that's actually why I got Bombos earlier, because I was like, well, maybe I want to use Bombos on Cold Stare so I can get that heart. And then I realized that it was just going to eat into my fire rod shots to grab it, because I wanted to use fire rod shots on Cold Stare.
I basically stopped grabbing hearts once I got 5. Once I get 5 hearts and blue mail in these, especially if I got a fairy in the bottle, I grabbed the bug net and swamp since it was just in the flooded chest, so I got myself a fairy in the bottle, and that gives me a lot of confidence just to run through everything and not really worry about it.
Wait, there was a fairy? Oh wait, no, you got bug net?
Bug net, which was in the flooded chest.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, so
I didn't look at swamp at all.
Yeah, I picked up a fairy and got rid of that red potion that I had early on.
Yeah, I like how you had 5 hearts in Ice Palace and still needed to damage boost to get rid of your red potion. That's pretty funny.
It would have been pretty handy in the next room when that was the room that I actually started to have my mini disaster there.
Yeah.
Oh, GG's, I'm gonna head off.
GG, good race.
Yeah, good game to both of you. Thank you for agreeing to come out and do this. It was a fun show to watch. I'm hopeful that everybody in chat enjoyed as well.
Yeah, well, this has been fun, my Indium. Always interesting to see these kind of crazy high-speed races, high-octane spoiler races from these top runners here. And, anyone else who also enjoyed this race, please give our runners a follow. The links to their Twitch channels are pasted in chat there. As well as our tracker, Professor Pixie, who did a very good job clicking the buttons as fast as she could in order to keep up with the pace that these racers put on today.
Yep, thank you so much, Pixie. Also, of course, Drossi pulling together the technical side behind the scenes to make sure that this thing got off the ground to begin with.
Right, of course.
So we'll have a quick look ahead at the speed gaming schedule for tomorrow. Looks like we have Hollow Knight All Skills at 1 p.m. Eastern as our earliest start time. Don't have a channel for the Link to the Past Rando daily race starting at 2 Eastern tomorrow just yet, but we shall see in that regard. Luigi's Mansion Any % No Out of Bounds tournament or match of some kind going on at 3:30 Eastern. Then getting on a little later in the day, if you came for the rando, well, we're going to have some more rando for you. We have semifinals from the Link to the Past Randomizer main tournament at 6:10 p.m. Eastern Time, and a few more things later on after that. You can go to speedgaming.org/schedule and get that in a time zone of your choosing. With that, I think we have pretty much reached the end here. Beer, you have any final thoughts for us?
No, just really enjoyed the race, and I'm always happy to see Speed Gaming putting these things on, and always enjoy commenting with you. And yeah, that's about it. GG's to the runners.
Good game once again to our runners. Thank you, chat, for giving us an hour of your time this evening. Homemade Beer, it was a pleasure. Pixie, Drossi, thank you so much. This has been the Speed Gaming presentation of the Link to the Past Randomizer Daily Race Series and Open 7-7 Spoiler Race. For all of us here, I am going to go ahead and sign this thing off. Have a good night, everybody.